what's up? It's your girl Krissy and welcome to my YouTube channel. As you can tell from the title, today is going to be a vulnerable and very personal topic to me. A very personal video, probably one of the most personal videos I'll probably ever share on this on my channel. But I feel like I'm ready to talk about it. I feel like I've gotten to like a breakthrough point with my journey in epilepsy, and I feel like I've reached a level of acceptance, and I've understand that this is what my life is, and I understand what I need to do to live the life that I'm comfortable with, and I want to take y'all along with me. I wanted to share this video for anybody else who may be going through a tough time with epilepsy, because it is a very, very tough journey. I have been going through this for about 8 years now, and I still feel like 8 years later, I'm still in year one. And whenever I get a seizure, or whenever I just start to think about my journey with epilepsy, I always fall back on a couple of thoughts. One being, why is this even my life, if we're being completely honest? Two, I wish there was like some type of support group, like some type of place that I can go to where I can talk to other people who have epilepsy and who it affects on the same level that it affects me. So someone who understands it from a point of view of going through it, and not just having a family friend or just seeing me going through it. Just kind of having a community that's a little deeper and a little more understanding. And I also want to share this. I also feel like there's still not a lot of awareness about epilepsy, and a lot of people don't even know what the heck it is. Like, whenever I tell people like, hey, this is what I have, they kind of look at me like I'm not 100% sure what that even is. And like I said, I feel like I've gotten to a place where I can kind of talk about it, where I can spread awareness about it, where I can open up about my journey. So let's just get into it. Okay, so first, let's just talk about what epilepsy is. So epilepsy is a neurological, that word gets me all the time. It's a neurological disorder that affects the brain and causes seizures. There are different types of epilepsy. When I was 21, I was diagnosed with generalized epilepsy. So that means that it affects my entire brain, not just like one portion of it. And that causes me to have seizures. To get a little deeper into what I was diagnosed with, so I have generalized epilepsy, and I experience tonic-clonic, also kind of known as grand mal seizures. So with the tonic-clonic, it's a period where I have a seizure and I lose consciousness. It kind of gives me like a jerking kind of feeling. And when I experience my seizure, I'm completely out of it. So if it sounds scary, it's because it is. Like, it's a little, it's very weird. It's very scary, and you know, it can be really concerning, because this can happen anywhere, and you only know the moments that lead up to the seizure. You don't actually know what's happening during that course of time. So I never know what's happening until I wake up, or until somebody tells me about it after I've woken up. The period before I experienced that seizure, or the loss of consciousness, is what they call an aura. And these are kind of like signs and symptoms that I know that I'm going to have a seizure, which, if I'm being honest, I'm a little grateful for that aura, because at least I at least have like a 15 to 20 minute window where I can kind of like get myself to somewhere safe, call somebody to come be with me, or just kind of let somebody know that this is about to happen, and you know, either come with me, or just kind of stay with me, or whatever the case is. So during that phase where I have the aura, or I experience the symptoms that I'm about to have a seizure, is I feel very tired, like very restless. Not like you just get up in the morning like, you know, I don't want to face the day, you know, or I could sleep a little bit more. It's more of a tiredness that like, it makes it hard for me to focus. So I'm so tired that I'm kind of going in and out of it. I'm starting to lose focus. So if I'm talking to y'all right now, like, and I was about to have one, I would completely zone out. And at whatever point I realize that I've zoned out, I'll come back and try to like get back in the conversation. So I would feel very tired, lose focus. I would feel very weak. I would get really nauseous. And it kind of makes it hard to do normal things. Like, it'll even be hard for me to get dressed because I keep coming in and out of it. So I hope that makes sense. But that's kind of what I noticed over the years through past seizures, and based off of what I was diagnosed with. That's kind of the easiest way to explain it with y'all. So when they diagnosed me, again, this was like 8 years ago. So first, let's talk about my first seizure. So my first seizure happened when I was living in New York. I was supposed to go out with my friend. And this day, I probably would never forget. Like, for the parts that I remember, I would never forget this day. So I was supposed to go out with my friend. And we were supposed to go out earlier, and I was just so tired, and I was sleeping in. And I should have known that to be a red flag, because I don't sleep in. Like, I'm a morning person. I get up pretty early. Like, me sleeping until noon is just not like me. Like, I couldn't do it even if I tried. So I slept in really late. I want to say I slept in till like 2 o'clock that day. And my friend at the time came over to come get me, and I wasn't even dressed, you know? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hurry up. I'm gonna get up and get dressed real quick. And I kid you not, it's like, as soon as I got up, I want to say like the distance. So I got out of bed. My bed is over here, and say like my door, well, not a frame up, my door is over here. As soon as I got to like here, that's when like the seizure started. And I didn't know anything about an aura at that point. I didn't know anything about epilepsy at that point. I didn't even know that I had a seizure in that moment, or that I passed out. The only thing that I remember was getting up and walking to the bathroom. When I woke up, was the scariest shit ever. I kid y'all not. Like, and I want to put this disclaimer out. Like, if you have epilepsy and it triggers you to hear about seizures and stuff like this, I probably should have said this earlier in the video, but you know, I would just get out of the video now. Like, I would just X out if hearing about seizures triggers you. But yeah, so I completely lost consciousness at that point, right? I wake up and I'm in an ambulance. I'm in an ambulance and I see EMT people. I see my mom in full like tears. She's shaking, and it's very rare in my life that I see my mom cry. Like, I've rarely seen my mom get emotional. So to see her like shaking up like that scared me, you know? And then her boyfriend at the time was like, you know, scared. And then my friend at the time, he was in there and he just looked afraid. Like, and I promise you, these images that you see when you wake up, they will never leave you. Like, I can think of every single person who I've been with that I've had a seizure within their presence. I will never ever forget their face when I wake up, or like when they look at me. It's such a terrified face, like, and it's almost like they don't know what to say, or they don't know what to do. They don't know how to help, and it's just a look of concern and a look of terror, like, and so I would just like, even thinking about it now, and telling you the story, I can see their faces right now. But I wake up, right, and we're in the back of the ambulance, and my mom is looking scared, and the EMT people are talking to me, and they're like, hey, can you hear me? And I'm like, yeah. And I look down trying to figure out like why I'm in here. I have blood all over my shirt. I have blood on my arms. Don't know what happened. Don't know where the blood is coming from. She's talking to me like, hey, do you know your name? Can you tell me your name? And I'm like, Crystal, like, and they're like, well, do you know who this is? And I'm like, my mom. And then they're like, well, can you tell me your mom's name? And I'm like, all right. So I'm in honestly, like, this is just a natural reaction for me. Like, I did not know what was going on. So I'm in here like, okay, like, let me just take off all the stuff they got. I'm ready to get out the ambulance. Cause I'm like, why are y'all asking me this, right? And they're like, no, you can't leave. We just want to let you know that you just had a seizure. So we're going to take you to the hospital. And I'm like, a seizure? They were like, yeah, you had a seizure. So my mom didn't see it at the time. But my friend who was there with me saw it at the time, saw what had happened. He's like, I've never seen anything like this. And he described it as me like fainting. And he said that I fell and I hit my head on the foot of the bed. And then I just kind of started to like have those convulsions and started shaking on the floor. And he was like, he didn't know what to do. So he ran and got my mom. Then they called the ambulance. So when they told me everything that happened, I realized I'm bleeding because I had hit my head. So I have a scar that y'all probably seen in videos, right in between my eye, the top of my nose. Had to get a couple stitches, and that's where I hit my head. And that's kind of where the blood was coming from. So we went to Bronx, Lebanon, I think that's the hospital we went to. We went to Bronx, Lebanon, and they stitched me up. And I think they did a CAT scan. And they said, they didn't officially diagnose me, but they said I might have epilepsy because I have suffered a seizure. And they gave me my results. So I did get a CAT scan and an MRI there. And they said I might be epileptic. Then I went to New York Presbyterian to get a second opinion because I'm like, okay, I'm 21, right? There's no way that like I could randomly just get this. Like, how do you even get epilepsy, right? In doing my research, I realized like it's either genetic or it's because you've suffered some type of like head trauma. And at the time I was like, well, no one in my family has epilepsy. So it's just weird to me that at the age of 21, this is the first time that any of us are seeing this, any of this is happening. So I've asked my mom if she knew of anything when I was younger. And I think she said I fainted one time, but nobody knew. Was like, okay, yeah, you had seizures before. Like, I don't recall her telling me that. But anyway, we went to New York Presbyterian, and that's where I was officially diagnosed. And they were putting me on medication, and it just wasn't working. And I felt like after a while, I was getting seizures like back to back. I went 21 years without, and then I was just having seizures back to back to back. Like, I would have one like once a week. And it was like, it was scary because I would have them at work. I remember one time I had one on the train, like riding MTA. And I thank God every day that there was good people around me, because this lady stayed with me. She put me in a cab, and she was just like super concerned. And I've just been really grateful that throughout all these episodes, I've been in the care of like good people or people who care about me. So yeah, I've had them back to back to back. And I felt like my experience at New York Presbyterian, it just didn't seem helpful. Like, they just kept putting me on medication. They weren't like breaking things down to me, like explaining why I'm having them so often now. And they just kept upping my medication, kept putting me on, higher dosage. And I was just like, I'm not gonna do this because it's not working. And y'all are not explaining anything else further to me. And basically the doctor was just like, medication is the only way that you'll be able to live with it. You know what I mean? She was saying because my brain has fully developed, and as an adult, it's just like you can live life on medication and be seizure free. But she wasn't like really explaining anything else. So I stopped going to New York Presbyterian, and I think maybe like a couple years later, or maybe like 1 year later, I went to NYU because I had a mentor at the time, and she said that she used to have epilepsy as a child, and her mom took her to NYU because they had a whole epilepsy comprehensive center. And so she recommended that I go. So when she told me that, I was like, all right, bet. Like, now I know somebody who has epilepsy now, and she doesn't have it anymore. So I'm hopeful. Like, okay, let's get rid of this, So I go to NYU, and I had a doctor, and she told me that they wanted to admit me so that they can run a series of tests. I got another MRI. Which I hate because it's so closed, like having a closed MRI. I don't like to be in small spaces like that. But I got that. I got a EEG, and I got a CAT scan. And I stayed in the hospital for probably 3 days, I think, so that they could monitor my brain activity pretty much. And after they did that, this was like the third time that I was confirmed, like, okay, yes, you have epilepsy. And the diagnosis was the same throughout all three hospitals. You have generalized epilepsy. But with this doctor, I felt like she told me way more than the other doctors have told me. She was like, okay, with this type of epilepsy, these are things that could trigger it. So the triggers that she told me was hormonal triggers, stress, lack of sleep, alcohol, and yeah, I think those are pretty much the triggers that they told me caused my seizures. So I'm not gonna lie, after learning about my triggers, I was just kind of like, I felt defeated. I was like, so what does that mean? Like, I can't drink again? Like, and it might sound really small to y'all, but like, I don't like to live with restrictions. Like, I like to just live doing the things that I want to do. And parts of me, even though this was the third facility to diagnose me, parts of me just didn't want to accept it. Like, I just didn't believe it. So they told me all the stuff that I had to do, and they started me on medication again. And I was taking the medication, and then I don't know, I stopped, and I didn't stop drinking at the time. And like, I don't know, seizure stopped, and I was like, okay, cool, like, we're good now, so I went back to my lifestyle. I was just doing the things that I was doing, and then I started getting seizures again. So I'm like, okay, like, what is going on? I'm still in denial. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I did not want to accept this. I did not want to accept this to be my life. I didn't know what this meant for me, and I was young, and I don't even think I was mature enough to even understand this. Like, to be honest with you, like, how I feel about it now and how I felt about it in my early to mid 20s, completely different people getting diagnosed, to be completely honest with you. Like, 21-year-old me was like, yeah, nah, no, I don't got that. Y'all need to go back to the drawing board. But me now is kind of like, all right, now we got to make some changes. So I feel like I have spent, I want to say, the first 4 years of my diagnosis just being in denial about it. And then when I came to terms and my mom was like, you got to do what they're telling you, I started taking medication, and then the medication came with this whole world of problems. And it's like, I'm laughing, but it's like not funny. I'm laughing to keep from crying. And like I said, I'm in a space where I've just kind of like, this is it. But when I started taking medication, so when I was telling y'all before that the doctor kept upping my medication, she had me on this pill called Keppra, and it was just not working. So a couple years later, they started me on a new medication called Zonogram, and I thought it worked. I really did. I thought it worked. For a couple of years, I was seizure free. Like for a good 2 years, I was seizure free. And by this time, I'm in Atlanta, so I had already had everything switched over. I've been taking my medication, but then I felt like I was losing way too much weight. The more I was taking the medication was the more weight that I lost. So I feel like prior to the medication, I was a size 6 before I started the medication. When I was taking it consistently, I was a size 0 too. So I had lost a lot of weight, and I was just trying to gain weight. Fast forward now, like I told you, I was taking that while I was here in Atlanta. I had stopped taking it because I was concerned about the weight loss. And here I go again. I just stopped taking it. I didn't tell my doctor or anything. I just kind of stopped taking it. And I was fine. Like I was doing good. Went out. And I think I did. No, I was fine. I don't think I had any seizures for a while. And I was like, okay, so I guess I don't need it. I did drink again. But at this point I was only drinking wine. They said that I can have wine, but I couldn't have anything harder than that. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, that's kind of where I'm at anyway. When it comes to alcohol, like that, I'm just a wine or nothing kind of girl. But I was like, okay, well, I could do that. And I felt fine. Then I think my next seizure after that was last November. And I had the seizure at work. My biggest fear was to have a seizure at work. Like, I didn't want that to happen. I don't want to have one on a plane. I don't want to have one when I'm by myself on a layover, like that. It was just like kind of like my worst fear. And I knew I was going to have it, but by the time that I realized I was going to have the seizure when I was at work, I was already on my way there. So I thought if I can just like get to my managers and stuff and tell them what's going on, then I'd be okay. And I didn't even make it. I was in the airport, but I didn't even make it to like sign in or anything like that. So that seizure was like the wake-up call of all wake-up calls. When I had a seizure at the airport, the last thing I remember was getting off the escalator and walking to our employee lounge. And I did not make it to the lounge. I must have fell really hard because I ended up getting another set of stitches on my chin, like right underneath my chin. And I ended up fracturing my jaw because I fell so high and from so high up and so hard. Don't remember anything. Literally, like, it's just like a blank space and time. Like, the last thing I remember was walking, and then I woke up and I'm in a wheelchair. So, with blood all over my uniform and all over my clothes. So they asked if there was anybody that they can call. So we called my mom, and she came to get me. Had to go to the hospital again, get stitched up. And honestly, I don't know what caused that seizure because I didn't drink. Like, I didn't drink the night before. I don't know. I don't know. That seizure is a mystery to me till this day. And I've just been trying to keep it cute. So fast forward to this year. Where am I at in this journey? I am just kind of like over the seizures. I'm really fed the fuck up. I would just like to have a life where I don't have any at all. So today, the lifestyle changes that I'm making is, like I said, you know, the doctor said that I can have a couple glasses of wine. I'm just gonna dub it all together. Like, I'm just not gonna drink at all, period, anymore, ever. Like, I think that's the best decision for me right now. It's, you know, because it's just not worth it. And every time I have a seizure, it's heavy on the physical for me. Like, the effects after a seizure is extreme tiredness, you know? And physically, I can't get up and do anything. I sleep most of the day. On top of that, I'm not with the injuries. Like, I've been blessed that they haven't been too bad, but, you know, I've been in some dangerous situations where they could have been worse. You know what I mean? Like, what if I was by myself and I didn't make it to work? Or what if that time I had it when I was on MTA, like, I wasn't around like a good Samaritan, you know what I mean? Like, so I just kind of feel like it's just not worth it. And my priority is kind of like getting that out under control and trying to see what I need to do so that I can live a life fully seizure free. It's an up and down for me emotionally too, to be like, okay, yeah, I've been 2 years seizure free, and then you have a seizure, and then you almost feel like it's a relapse, like you're starting over again. Like, okay, great, you know what I mean? That's kind of what it feels like. And then I also get really depressed after I have a seizure, because I'm just like, what the fuck, you know? It just hits me hard on all levels, like mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I don't really think that's good for my mental health. So I'm trying to make some lifestyle changes that help me move in a better direction, in like a healthier direction in all aspects of my life. So I will not be drinking, not even the 1 or 2 glasses they said I'm allowed. I'm over it. Also went to the doctor last week, and we're trying to see what are some medication options that I can possibly get on. So I don't want to revisit anything that I've done before, because like I said, the Keppra didn't work, and the Zonogram made me lose way too much weight. So I decided on trying a prescription called Lamictal. And the only reason why I'm like naming them, because I don't know who's seeing this. Like, if you have epilepsy and I would love to hear your feedback, and like if any of these prescriptions like resonate with you, I would just love to know your experience with them. But I am going to start a new medication called Lamictal, and that's something that it sounds good to me, because they're saying that I can take that even if I decide later on in life that I want to start a family. At least I wouldn't have to stop and get on something different because like I'm pregnant or whatever. So gonna also start doing that. And And I'm just going to stay hopeful. I'm going to manifest that this is something that's going to get under control. I'm going to manifest that I can live a life without having a seizure again, like, and creating what that new life looks like for me. Because also, like, these seizures get in the way of my goals. I live in Atlanta now. Your girl's trying to whip it. Like, I need to drive. Like, I cannot not drive any longer. And there are laws around epilepsy and a time frame of how long you have to be seizure free to be able to operate a vehicle, which is completely understandable. So I just need to, like, really get that under control. So yeah, that is where I'm at. I need to make some of these lifestyle changes, and I'll keep y'all I'll carry y'all on this journey with me, keep y'all posted on how the medication's going, how driving's going, and I don't know if I'm gonna celebrate the milestones of being seizure free yet, because like I said, it's like a relapse, and every time I get excited, I get brought right back down. So I don't know. We'll see if I'll do little milestones like that, but I definitely want to take y'all on this journey with me. I'm going to create a playlist on my channel titled Epilepsy, where y'all can find all of the videos and stuff there. Okay, and lastly, before I close out this video, I did want to leave you with some tips too that I wrote down, and that you can kind of keep in mind if you ever are around someone who has a seizure. These are things that you can do in the moment to help. So the first thing is kind of check their wrist. Sometimes people do wear medical bracelets. I don't have mine on right now, but I do own one. And the medical bracelet will kind of just say what the person's condition is, and that's a good thing to kind of help off with, especially if you're calling first responders. So you can take off the bracelet, and if they're not convulsing, take off the bracelet and read it. Usually it'll tell you information like names, the condition, medication. It just says different things, but that's something that you can take a look at and let first responders know once they get there, so they know what they're dealing with. If someone's having a seizure, don't restrain them, kind of let them seize, and it shouldn't last for too long. But don't restrain them. Don't put anything in their mouth, and kind of turn them to their side, because sometimes if you keep them on their back, they can swallow their tongue, or if they end up vomiting, they can have some blockage there. So you want to turn them onto their side and kind of keep the airways clear. Obviously call for help, 911, get an ambulance going. You also kind of want to keep, if you see someone about to seize and it hasn't happened yet, and you feel like they're gonna fall, kind of keep them away from anything that might cause an injury. So move anything that might hurt them away from the person, and just stay with them, be comforting. And usually after the seizure, if they're in a hospital, they'll be in a hospital, but most times with most people, they get really tired. It is a very exhausting experience for the body and for the brain. So the person usually sleeps after. So just allow them that time to sleep, and just give them care. And I'm different. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I would kind of want to rest. And then usually when I wake up, I'll be like, hey, so what happened? But I don't like to be overwhelmed, so I would suggest not to overwhelm them after. Just kind of let them rest, and then let them come to you. So I hope you learned a couple of things from this video. I'm actually pretty proud of myself for getting through this. I definitely thought I was gonna cry throughout certain parts of this, but yeah, I hope that this was helpful. If you have epilepsy, feel free to leave any comments below if you want to get a little more personal, and just not have it where everyone can see. My DMs are always open on Instagram, so you can follow me or you cannot. Just message me, and my DMs are open. So yeah, that is my journey with epilepsy, and I'm just hopeful, and I feel very confident that things are going to be under control and things are going to be on an up and up from here. So thank y'all so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to learn, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.